What's up everyone, welcome back to Fish a Hex. This is Travis here. Today's video is going to be all about the frag system. We're going to talk about some of the preparation work, as well as the whole moving process, the ups and downs of that. And then we're going to talk about some of the changes I've made since the system is going and kind of how it's doing overall. So let's go and get into it. Now, as you guys can see, when it comes to the stands, we're using two separate ones. It's not going to be like the previous build where we had that one 8-foot by 2-foot stand and had both low boys next to each other. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is we're going to be using two different types of lighting, and I want to keep it kind of as far away from each other as I can. That way there isn't any T5 lighting getting over to the LEDs and vice versa getting over to the T5 section. That way we can have a pretty good comparison on having the exact same water volume with two different types of lighting to see how the corals react. Now, my overall plan is to go ahead and separate these two tanks with that 60-gallon cube that I had on the previous system. It's 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot, and right now we have the 2.5-foot snowflake eel in that tank, as well as the hippo tang, which can't be in the frag tank because she loves picking up frags and then dropping them into Ophelia and corals that definitely love to kill SPS, and she's been wiping out frags every day. So consequently, she has been living in the 60-gallon cube and probably will stay in there until the 300-gallon build is ready to go. Alright, now that you guys have seen the tank stands and kind of have a general idea of the layout, let's go ahead and talk about the move day. Now, as I mentioned previously, it was pretty damn stressful. It was about 94 degrees outside, and unfortunately, I ended up breaking one of my frag tanks when I was moving it. Pretty much how that happened was the door was, propped open. The wind was going. I mean, I wouldn't say it was horrible, but basically, as I was carrying the tank out, the door came flying back in, and the handle hit the back of the low boy and ended up pretty much crumbling in my hands. I didn't get cut or anything. It was just one of those moments where you're like, shit, this definitely shouldn't have happened today. And yes, basically, I was stuck with 2 tanks worth of coral as well as fish, and I had to stuff it into one and hope to God that I didn't lose everything. Now, with that being said, I did end up losing a couple fish as well as a lot of coral, and I really think it's just overall stress with being packed into one tank. Now, I didn't prepare for having a low boy break. I mean, I've never had a tank break while I was carrying it, so I wasn't prepared with, say an extra low boy. So I ended up having to get another one locally, but it was going to take a couple days before that was even going to happen. So I had to make do with what I had. Now, when it comes to plumbing this system, I did it as quickly as possible. There was no fancy tubing, no nothing, no reactors, nothing. Just had to get it up and running. That way I can get the coral in there and get everybody kind of a little bit less stressed. Now, when it came to the plumbing, it was one line directly going up to the first low boy. Then the drain went over to the left down to the 60-gallon cube, and then I just did that cube down into the 40-gallon breeder sump. So very basic, nothing fancy, and it was a total disaster, trust me. After that, I went ahead and I dumped in all the buckets that I brought with me. I had about maybe 10 or 15 5-gallon buckets with lids with not only fish but coral in it, as well as a couple totes, and then another barrel that I had in the SUV full of water. Basically, that 60% of water I brought with me was enough to go ahead and fill up the 60-gallon cube, the low boy, as well as get the skimmer sump section up to where it needed to be. Now, once I had everything transferred into there, it was time to get the apex hooked up. My biggest priority was, of course, getting the temperature and the temp probe where they needed to be calibrated, whatever. I just needed to make sure that it was correct. So once that was done, I worried about getting the main pump where it needed to be, as well as the skimmers. That stuff is all on the back burner. It's all about temperature at this point and water flow. Once I felt the system was stable, it was time to move my focus on figuring out how to get another low boy as quickly as possible. Luckily, I had a friend here who lives locally that I went over and I just bought one from him. So that's $100 or so that I didn't plan for this build. On top of that, I had to order new bulkheads and, of course, the extra seal for the overflow box, as well as some return stuff. So I had to wait for that to come in the mail, which took about 4 days. And yeah, it was pretty crappy. So I went ahead and I drilled the tank because I already had drill bits ready to go. So I drilled the tank and painted it in preparation for the bulkheads to get here. And then once they came in, I just put it all together real quick. And then, of course, ran the red tubing at that point because I wanted to save it until everything was kind of mellow and I could just take my time to make sure the plumbing looked pretty decent. And other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for the build. It was, like I said, pretty stressful, something that I don't enjoy doing. And even with all the preparation and all the coral sales, and thank God I sold a ton of coral because I would have lost a ton more than what I did. And I definitely wouldn't have been able to fit everything I had into just one tank. So again, I appreciate everybody who bought coral in preparation for this move. You definitely, it was a lifesaver, that's for sure. Now, with all that being said, I definitely learned a lot during this process, and in hindsight, I probably should have did what I did at my previous move. basically I built a separate system completely at the new place, and then I slowly transitioned coral and all that kind of stuff over to that, and I actually had no corals die during that whole process. And I would have done that here, but with the sheer amount of money to move into this new house, the amount of money that I dropped in on that 300-gallon build, and you guys will see kind of where all that money went, I just didn't have it. Building a new system would have cost me several $100s, and that's just something that I had laying around at that time. So with that being said, I will have to prepare more for my next move if and whenever that ever happens, that I will definitely build a separate system and then just transfer things slowly, because that is what I find that works the best. Now, the last thing I want to talk about briefly is how the system is doing as of today. Right now, everything is doing fantastic. Have zero algae issues. The ton of coral is just kind of brightening back up. It's looking great, which means once it's kind of back in full swing, I'll go ahead and add that stuff back to the website. If you guys have been following my coral sales, you guys notice I took down a ton of stuff. I only sell what I know will survive shipping, period. If I have any doubts on coral quality or what it, if it doesn't look that great, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not here to set people up for failure. So I will do a later video once I get some new coral this week. We'll be cutting it up, and then I'll post a video showing you guys the coral sales and all that kind of stuff, because coral sales are here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. Now, that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a ton of stuff coming out here shortly. We have the T5 setups as well as the refugium, and there's the whole quarantine system, curing rock. I mean, there's just a ton of videos. I have about a list of 25 topics on my desk right now that I need to slowly get through. Either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Peace.